Hello, I'm back. Been gone for a while between traveling and then I got really sick. Now I'm in Canada, but I have COVID and I'm getting over it. I haven't tested in a day or so, but slowly but surely. It's just a mild version. So, but it's horrible. Just tired. But I wanted to just get going in life, and feel normal. So, thank you for all of your well wishes. I know a few of you have made comments in my community page when I mentioned I was sick, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I am, and of course, the trial is going on, and I wanted to get on here with the trial, but between everything, I couldn't. I was too exhausted. But today, I'm going to. I have a bunch of viewers' questions that I was going to answer. Not all of them, but just some of them related to. Somebody had asked if Kate was still alive. Asked, and I did a whole little meditation on Harry and Meghan. That wasn't a viewer's question, but that's what I went into. Kind of went in a UK version or an England version. And I looked into Charles's energy. Somebody had asked me to look into Jon Benet Ramsey, which I found very shocking. I'll tell you about that. And the Switzerland Peace Summit, somebody questioned me about. Is Christopher Wray working to help 45 behind the scenes was another question. Somebody had asked me about the two princes back in the 15th century. There was in the Tower of London these two princes, and they thought they were murdered from. I had to look it up. They were Edward's children, Edward the Fourth, and this was Edward the Fifth, and Richard, his younger brother. And then they went to the Tower of London, and bam, they're gone. And now the uncle, Richard, I think the third, took over. Shocking. So I looked into that to see what happened. I did the best I could, but it's a little bit difficult. And I think that was it. And then I just I pulled some cards on the trial just this week, and I got every suit, just as a heads up. I got every suit of swords. I got the king, the queen, the knight, and the seven of swords. Lots of movement of documents, talking, communication, sharp-tongued, pointed discussions. But I'm going to continue on with that later in the reading. But again, thank you so much for sticking with me. And I'm now at the cabin in Canada. It's beautiful here, but it's cool. It's cold. There's still ice on the lake. And I don't think that had anything to do with me being sick. But we are settled in now. Yeah, let's get going. And before I forget, those of you who haven't subscribed, please click the link below, or I'll put it in the description that you can subscribe. I'd appreciate it. It helps me out. I'm going to start with Harry and Meghan because that's where I immediately went. The energy pulled me. Sometimes I don't always feel drawn to read on something, so I kind of have to go where I feel drawn to. And I've been thinking about her and her jam, the strawberry jam. So I got into Harry right away. And I saw Harry. I've never actually seen him as a dessert or anything or a piece of food, but immediately saw him as a pretzel, but not a soft pretzel. One of those, it started off as a pretzel stick dipped in like white chocolate. But then the more I sat with it, it was one of those hard knotted pretzels, the curly Q ones. And I was like, but he's so flexible. How is that? But no, I think it's because he's a little dense and immovable. And then I got into her energy, and I had a hard time feeling her out exactly what I was thinking would be how she relates to this pretzel. But then I saw her as a very sweet, like a buttercream. It's like you're eating a bowl of frosting, but it was like smeared on this is way out there. This is super strange. Like a charcuterie board. So there wasn't a lot there. The frosting was thinner, but it was very cloyingly sweet. And I saw him like dipping, into her buttercream, into her buttercream. But there wasn't depth, and it was just sugar. And there wasn't even like, I know it's buttercream, but the cream cheese or anything really making it rich. It was just sugary. So I think that relates to her the word salad kind of thing where, oh yeah, that was the other thing. I saw the dip having like letters, if you put sprinkles on something, but they were shaped like letters. So I saw that too in different colors, like, look at me, I'm all sparkly and there's letters and words and this is happening. But in reality, it doesn't mean anything. It's like something you have once and then you go, oh, too sweet. Doesn't taste good enough to eat anymore. So I did see that, and I got into his energy, and I asked him a bunch of questions. And for those of you who are new, I have notes and I have to refer to them. I felt like he is still stuck in this chip on his shoulder, like he's still stuck in that this is what I did, or they did to me or us. And it feels more about like his mom and the world, and like not nobody understands, but it's kind of like that. And it's like he's really entrenched in that. I've said this before. I think he could use some really good hypnotherapy. I know he's tried lots of different methods of therapies and drugs, and I think hypnotherapy would really work on him. But I asked him, and he said, what do you want? And he says, I want to be free in both the UK and here. So, and he wants to see his father, brother, and Kate, but I don't think he wants to doesn't feel like he needs that relationship so much. It's more like he just wants to maintain it. And he said Meg does exaggerate at times. He admits that she exaggerates, but he's like, it's okay. It's okay. Like, that's just part of her. And then she's an actress and she has to be flamboyant and that kind of stuff. Hyperbole and that sort of thing. I think he counterbalances it in his head where he thinks, he just offsets it with, it's okay. It's okay. He does say I have to make money. And I felt like if he doesn't, he's going to get more and more entrenched and more resentful between him and the family. And I know they're mad at him because of all the things he said, which he still believes are true, by the way. If he can't get that money, he's going to be resentful and angry. He has a childish, magical thinking in his mind. That's the feeling I got too, is he's entrenched and this is how I feel. And if I just do this and this and this, they'll get it. They'll know. And I don't understand why they don't go along with me or see what I'm saying. It's like very childish. It's like he's stuck at 12 or whenever Diana died. I felt like that. And he says, I want my brother to apologize, but I'll settle for tolerance at this point, which I thought was good. Like I said, I think they just want to maintain a relationship, and I think he does love William. And their relationship is different than any others, of course. But I do feel like it's his motives are different. His agenda's different. I mean, as all of ours are between siblings and relationships. I asked about what he feels about Meghan's new jam in the product line. I guess she's going to take that American Riviera orchard, flies right off your tongue, into a product line, and they'll be part of their Netflix production somehow, this lifestyle series that she's getting together, or they're getting together. And he said, she said, I'm not fond of it. I don't know anything about it. And he's leaving it up to her. He doesn't have an opinion on it at all. And in the past, I've actually, I wrote this down. I forgot about this. I see her saying, I wish he was more of a man, because he isn't, this is Meghan talking, that he isn't strong enough. And so that was the exact same feeling I got with him, is like he's giving all the power to her to a great degree. He does know that she lies. He's heard her lie. And he just doesn't, it's not getting to him, because he's like, everybody lies once in a while, and we're doing what we're doing. And I got into his energy, and I saw his house from his viewpoint, and it's beautiful. I don't know if it's by the ocean or what, but outside I can see like water, California, high cliffs and stuff. And I see children, and I see this, I think who it's Archie, but he's bigger. And I was surprised. It's like, oh, he's getting tall. And not that that matters. I'm saying I see from his viewpoint. And he's not like rushing. He doesn't feel like anxiety about getting products and he wants to make money. That's not true. But it's like, I don't know, his thinking is off. I don't quite understand how he's thinking, because it's not connected to, I don't want to say reality, but he's going down these weird channels that doesn't make sense to me. It's like logical. You need to keep this lane open for resources, this one. And I know they're going to go to Africa, and he does feel like I do feel like he wants to do good for humanity. But he's kind of spoiled, and he's always had that, everybody looks at me, I just have to talk and they come running. And I think he has that history in his life being a royal. And I think he thinks that's going to continue forever. And it's going to take a while, but I think it's going to seep in that, you know what, maybe I have to work for it, And I think over time, but he's really putting a lot of power on Meghan's shoulders, or giving her a lot of say in whatever they do, which, in a partnership, fine. But yeah, ever since he can remember, people always follow everything, and his family do. So he doesn't understand it. I think he thinks if he throws something, it sticks, and it doesn't work like that in real world. And he doesn't know how to read the room anymore. He hasn't figured out how to read the room now, because he's so used to that old way of living, this high-end elitist way of thinking. He just has to smile, and everybody goes, "Yay, look at Harry." He does miss Kate and Will a bit, like I said, but times have changed. And he says, I want them to see me as prosperous. He used that word, but I don't know if that's meaning like, I think maybe meaning self-dependent or independent. Self. He can take care of his family on his own. I think he wants them to see that. And he wants them to trust her, Meghan, trust M. And I wrote about the lying. He said he wants to, I said, do you want to spend time with your father? And he says, yes, but unless there's a good security, I can't. I'm still fearful they could come here. Oh, no, he's still fearful if he goes there of the paparazzi and everything. He's really, like I said, still stuck. And he said they could come here. Why can't they come here? Meaning to California, which we all know is very difficult for them to come versus him. And he hasn't apologized because he doesn't think he did that much wrong. I think at some point he's going to go, well, maybe I hurt their feelings, but this is truth, and I don't know if they're going to take that as an apology. And as for Meghan, I got into her viewpoint, her energy looking out. She's a little shorter, obviously. And the feeling I got, or the words I got, is I want to feel live. A woman who's very thin and kind of lanky and flowy and graceful and like a ballerina. In my mind, she has that. That's what I got when I was in her energy. Is she wants to feel thin and flowy and graceful. That's the image I got, was in her mind. She says, oh yeah, and I tell people I need love, but I don't need anyone. So she pretends that she's a very loving person is how I interpret that. But in reality, she's in charge, and she's very independent, self-assured. She can do anything she needs to by herself. She said, I want Harry to be more like me and man up. This is where I wrote it down. And she says, I'll never leave him. She says that, but I feel like if something came up that was even better or gave her more freedom, I think she might. Well, that's what I'm thinking, but what's she saying this? So, and when I asked her, I said, why won't you see your father? And I immediately saw a man with a big, I want to say a goiter, those big giant throat swollen things. And he's a heavier man, her father. He doesn't have anything that big, but I think she thinks he's really ugly, and she doesn't want that to be near her. Just the image of him, which is very cold to me. So it's all about image to her, and it felt just wrong, because she's not looking for the relationship. It's just about the image. She said, I won't see father because he's fat and ugly now. He knows I'm working. So she thinks that he understands somewhat. And that's why she's not that worried. And I think that's how their relationship is to a greater degree, that she pushes him around and he just does whichever she says. I think it has in the past, kind of like Harry in a way. Anyway, that was Harry and Meghan. I did pop into Queen Elizabeth and Philip, and I just wanted to see what they were doing on the other side. And they are quite happy, and they've had many, many lives before. They are many lives either as friends, siblings, romantic partners, opposite sex, it doesn't matter. That's why it was so easy for them to be together, to work together. And I know everybody has their faults, and there's difficulties and stress, but that's the feeling I got. And they will continue to do that again, I think. Maybe not next time and then one time after that, but they'll continue. Okay, now Kate, she says, I got into her energy, and it was a little bit difficult because, and I've said this before, I had breast cancer, and I didn't necessarily see that Kate had cancer. I saw she was resting, and she felt like her body is changing, and she felt like, she was that pink fondant lounging and very thin and weak, but I didn't necessarily see or hear the word cancer. But then she came out with it, and I was like, I'm too close to that, and to the idea of someone having cancer. So I'll just tell you what I saw and then take it or leave it. But she says, Will looks at me different. And she says, I want peace. And I see her writing letters, writing notes. Maybe she's answering thank you notes or something like that. I see that quite a bit. And she wants to be with the kids. And she says when she gets back to serving, being, part of the royal family service, she doesn't want to do near as much. I asked her what the doctor said, and they said, I should be fine, but she said constant care, but what I think I took that as is monitoring. Like, I'll need PET scans often is what I think I heard her say too. So more just checking, and they have the opportunity to do that. So, and I think the cancer was grown in an area that had a lot of inflammation due to and I saw this before, tissues that were bound together. There might have been a growth, a lipoma or something like that inside of the cancer. So I think that can happen when you have injuries or damage, and then you have inflammation. That's why they say inflammation is bad, because cancer can grow in any part of your body. But I think that's what happened with her. Anyway, she also feels like the situation with Meghan actually contributed to her getting cancer, believe it or not. She said, I'm worried because now I am defective goods to William, which surprised me because I've seen them before. They have this it's like a cloth bag of their relationship with all these items in it. some are difficult and some are really good. They have a deep bond. I don't think either one of them's going anywhere, but I think that happens to a person when they get cancer and they go through treatment, they change, their body changes, and it's difficult, and your view of life changes and that kind of thing. So I think she said I worry, but I couldn't get past that because, and I think she's going to be okay, but that's, well, I went to. I still saw her, that pink fondant, and before I'd seen some green tree growing out of it, so that told me it was healing. And then when I did see that again, the roots were going down over her, or over it. So they're growing. The tree's getting bigger. And so that's really good. So positive. That's the positive thing. Okay. Now, the two princes in the Tower of London. Very interesting. Edward the Fourth died, and he left his two children, Edward V and Richard. And Richard was the Duke of York. He's the younger one, and they were 12 and 9. And the uncle, Richard III, I don't know, somehow they put him in the Tower of London when the dad died. And the mom's gone, I guess. The queen is gone. So these little princes, they all of a sudden disappeared and couldn't find him. And Richard III, the uncle, took the throne, and nobody knows what happened. So I immediately went into the older boy's energy. And of course, it's in a kind of a stone rooms. Not dungeony at this point, but they're cold and, there's bedding and things, but they're not comfortable as much as, like we are now. But I saw the older boy actually, which I find interesting, being actually worse than the uncle is. Like, I could see the older boy, which I do think they were murdered, he would have been really kind of a not great person. Not that I'm going, well, either way, it was not great. It wasn't good. But, and then the younger boy was a little bit softer because he was 9, obviously. I saw the older one. He wouldn't have been great either. It felt like the older boy was kind of a dick. Anyway, and he knew it was going to be possible. He knew that he was already looking around, understanding the situation, the older boy, the one that would have been king. They were planning his coronation and everything, but the uncle said, "Oh, just go up to the Tower of London, hang out there till we get it all figured out." Anyway, and I did hear when I was in their energy, there was a lot of disease going around, but that's not what killed them. They were strangled, and I read too that they found bones under the stairwell in the Tower of London, 2 small skeletons, and they say they were about the same size of the boys, but I don't think those were them. I feel like they were killed off, I wrote off campus, either killed on there and taken away, or taken away and killed somewhere else. Yeah. And he said we were in his way. He said I was too strong. The older boy said I was too strong, and he wouldn't have given in. They might have had conversations, him and his uncle felt like he might lose out on everything and get kicked out, so took his chance and had his 12-year-old nephew, the king-to-be, killed. But he did say in the next life, or lives after, he said, I came back stronger and wiser, and my brother learned too. He had been weak, in a weak life before, a woman, he said. So that taught him, they both learned from that. I mean, we all learn from experiences, but yeah. So I think it wasn't actually the king or Richard III that did the killing. I think there was a couple soldiers, a couple guys. Those guys. I know a guy that knows a guy. Those kind of guys. Anyway, so there. Charles, I read 2 different things, that he's going back into some of his public appearances because he's feeling better. The doctors gave him the okie dokie. And then I saw another article saying his health is waning. So you can't, I've heard more that it's getting better than I did. I only read that one article that it was getting weaker. But earlier in the year, when I heard he had cancer, I did a reading on him, and I felt like he was going to get weaker as the year goes on, and that William is really going to have to engage a little bit more into that position, slowly get in there. But according to that, he said he's going to be out there doing his public appearances. He looked a little gray the last time I saw him, but maybe he's been inside a lot, not been outside. Somebody asked about if Christopher Wray was working behind the scenes to help 45. And, he's the FBI director. And I always find it interesting is that Biden kept him in place. So I thought, okay, he must trust him, all right. And I've seen him witness or testify in front of the Senate in different committees. And he doesn't get, too upset about some of the questions they attack him on. I find that he's very practical, pragmatic. That's the feeling I get. He's very practical and thinks about the larger picture. I do feel like he is trying to balance both ends here, and I do feel like there are a lot of people in the FBI are still on the Trump train, and that would be willing to do something for our former guy. And Christopher Wray does not want to alienate them. He knows there's like an undercurrent of understanding or nonverbal understanding about certain things. So he's trying to work both sides and keep everybody happy. He's doing all the right things, but I do feel like he's not necessarily sabotaging Biden at all. But I do feel like he is trying to play both sides. And I think it's because he's pragmatic and he doesn't want to lose his job. At the same time, some of these people may have something on him. Some of the FBI agents know stuff, and so he's trying to please everybody. Not necessarily blackmail him, but yeah. Yeah, maybe not want to trust him, which sadly. Somebody had asked if Rwanda were some of the people coming into the UK from Rwanda, a lot of the refugees, because in the past I'd seen England as getting a big underwater river coming from North Africa and it's been a huge problem for them. And it's dark and it goes under the water, and it definitely comes from North Africa. And my UK guy, my England guy, has gone through lots of transformations. And the last time we saw him, he was doing pretty good. He was proud, almost had his whole suit on, and he was feeling, he's got his top hat, a personification of the UK. He's kind of an old-fashioned guy with his not tap shoes, but yeah, taps. Is that the kind they call them with the black and white? Anyway, but he was all doing good last time, and that was a month or so ago. And he had the Union Jack flag wrapped around the island, kind of keeping things tight ship, not a lot of immigrants coming in, and they were feeling really good. But when I looked at that now, the flag is wearing down around the edges, and I see some holes, and I feel like it's getting threadbare. It's not holding around the island as easily. And I do feel like, I don't know, I got to give him a name. What did I give him a name? Gregory. I think that was his name, Gregory. Gregory was getting more tattered again. I did see like little bridges or little lines going to Europe. Not necessarily with immigrants, but there's something, which of course, EU and Europe really does a lot of coordination and import-export with Europe. But I saw that, and I think that relates more to talking and discussions about what to do about the immigrant crisis. Yeah. And the person who asked, I do think it could be from Rwanda. I just see a lot of North Africans or people coming off of North Africa or Western Africa, and it somewhere in that area, that bump. And I'm pretty sure it could be from anywhere that they've traveled from, Central Africa, wherever that is. And they're just looking for asylum seekers. But immigration is a migration is a huge problem all over the world, or a huge burden to a lot of economies and a lot of countries all over the world. And somebody had mentioned in the comments, because of our climate change and people are going to be moving around due to the climate change, which affects economies and just, landscape and farming and all that, people are going to be adjusting. So we're going to be going through a period of, I think in the next 50 years maybe, of switching it up, changing things around. Not necessarily countries are empty of people and others are full. It's just coming up with different strategies, and it's difficult. It's just a challenge for a lot of countries. We have our immigration issues here in the States with people coming up from South America, and they come from all over, and they go through South America. So, yeah, that's it, I think. Oh, the UK dude, Gregory, is exhausted, and he has empty pockets too. There's a thing called a Hoosier flag. I'm originally from Indiana, and there were Hoosiers, or Indiana Hoosiers. And a Hoosier flag is empty pockets that are flapping. And I think it comes from the Depression when there was no money. Anyway, that's what I saw. I saw the Gregory without empty pockets. So whatever's going on with this big immigration, the pockets are empty. Anyway, okay. Somebody asked about the economy. I looked into the Dow, and I am nowhere near any kind of person you should trust when it comes to predicting money or the economy. So just do not do that. Do not trust this. But I know it's gone up and up, and it's just logically, there's bound to be a correction. But I did see that it was going to go down slowly, and then there's a dip. And the feeling I got was September, October, or maybe more into October. And then after the election, it's going to go back up and above. It's going to have another peak. And then it's going to go flatten out again, back to where it was. So we're going to have a dip and go back up and down most of the year. But I saw gold staying where it is, even getting higher. I saw crypto, this is really vague, but I saw it going up and down. Not too down, but a little down. Up, a little down, up, a little down. But there's so many different currencies that, like I said, don't listen to anything I'm saying. Somebody had asked about the Switzerland Peace Summit. I saw protests. I saw a lot of anger, and it's not so much about them getting together. I think it was about Ukraine. This peace summit was about Ukraine. But there's going to be a lot of protests about a lot of things, like Palestinian-Israeli situation, the Gaza problem, the Gaza war, the Ukrainian war. There's a lot of anger at the elitists or the people who aren't doing enough. In fact, last night they had the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and they were protests outside of the White House or outside of the hotel that they had the big dinner, which people were, First Amendment. We have a right to free speech and protest, as long as everybody does it peacefully, no problem. But at the Peace Summit, going back to that, I think Switzerland, it won't be prepared enough. I saw that there's anger. And then I sat at this conference table. I was sitting at a conference table, imagining I was there, and there was weird flavors in the water. I don't know what that's about, but I felt like they were trying like smart waters with, it made no sense to me. But I think they planned incorrectly. I think they need to plan differently for what they're doing in the moment. I think they're making plans way ahead of time, and there's things that they're going to have to adjust right before that are going to come up, and I don't know if they're going to plan accordingly. Things are changing faster than they're planning is the feeling I got. If Russia goes, or if their rep is going, they won't accept responsibility, and I see them having a big strike after into the Ukraine. Hopefully not. Hope I'm wrong. I wanted to look into the Summer Olympics for Paris because that's not, Switzerland and France aren't too far apart. And I saw things are still in flux with that. It's going to be hot. I saw hot. And it's going to be half and half. It's going to be very poetic and beautiful. There's going to be beautiful, creative ways to have the ceremonies, have the ribbons, have it's just going to be very aesthetically beautiful and organized in that regard. I do think, France doesn't have a ton of money, but I did see, I don't know, this could be wrong. I did see an explosion somewhere on a train, something like that. People hurt, but I thought it was like a minor league thing. It wasn't like a big, ISIS thing. It was more like some kind of terror thing. Hopefully not. Could be wrong. But I did see the poetry and the beauty and the artistic flair that Paris can do so beautifully. It was really nice. This one is Jon Benet Ramsey. Well, not last, because I'm going to look at Trump's trial real quick at the end. Okay, so weird. It's happened so long ago. It's like 25, 30 years ago, I think. And she was sick. I always felt like in my real life, back then, I thought the mother was strange. I thought she had something to do with it. But immediately I felt choking. When I got in her energy, I felt like my throat was being choked immediately, which was weird. I've never had that feeling before. And I look up and it's her father. I saw her father's face. Maybe it's symbolic. Maybe he knew about it. But that's what I saw. And I think there's another person over here that also knows. Wasn't maybe there when it happened, but they are around. There's and maybe it's a man, it's not a woman. Anyway, I think they have somebody else that was kind of helping. And I asked her, she said, I didn't do something, I triggered him somehow, and I didn't do something he said. And he got mad, and I don't know if he was drinking or if he was just not right in his head. He was a little off, and he hit her, and maybe he thought she died or something, and then he had to strangle her to make sure or something. I don't know. But because he didn't want to get in trouble. But I looked in them together in heaven. I think her dad is still alive, but I saw them arm in arm, so that told me that it was sort of a planned soul contract thing. He could have killed her or he could not have. It was his karma to decide, and this is the way it went. So it was sort of, I didn't say planned to kill your own child, but it was a possibility in his world, in his soul contract to learn through. And hopefully he has. I have no idea. I'm not going to, I know this sounds crazy. It's not entertainment, talking about a child getting killed, but this is my musings and where I go and what I see. Take it or leaving. But yeah, really crazy. I didn't expect that. So anyway, all right. On a brighter note, let's look into Mr. Trumpy's trial. Now, like I said, I got the swords earlier for his trial. Lots of comings and goings. And I know they don't have court tomorrow. And Nine of Swords, another sword card. Wow. So something is going to be, they're going to do something. And when I looked into Jack Smith's energy, I see him, what is he going to do with these immunity, possibly, the president's immunity from the Supreme Court, if they vote for his immunity for different things, for private versus personal versus public. I see him creating seven different options. He's like, well, if they say this, it's going to be this. If they say this, we're going to charge him with this. If they say this, we're going to charge him with that. He's already preparing different eventualities, different versions for him or the prosecution to use in the future when they do take him to court. But we know Trump is going to delay again, the emperor. Well, there's the court and then the tower. So I think times are a changing, and I think if I take the Emperor as being Judge Merchon, there's going to be a sudden change in the situation this week. Wow, 10 of Swords. Got the 9, 10, King, and the 10 of Swords. And it's going to put the knife in his back. Wow. And it seems heavier when I'm looking at this, but when I'm imagining it, I don't feel like... I think it's just going to be a really big thing he can't get over, a big motion, a big witness that's really going to screw him because he can't fight that. And it's a woman, Queen of Wands, it's a Leo. I wonder if somebody, that lady that used to work for him, she's already been there. Somebody else that he feels fondly for, somebody else, or maybe it was Stormy Daniels or that Karen McDougal. I don't know if she's a Leo or Stormy Daniels is a Leo. I don't even know if they're even, one of them are testifying, but big changes. Wow. I feel like something's going to change this week, according to the cards. Lots. So, all right. I meant to make this short. Didn't happen. Thank you again for coming by. Thank you for likes. Thank you for commenting, sending questions, subscribing. I still have more questions on other stuff to look into. And I'm taking my time, going slow, feeling better day by day. And I have spaghetti sauce on the stove, so I'm going to go down and take care of that. All right, till next time.